Good afternoon, everyone. It's Diederik Elderman here. Thank you so much for joining me on another one of our expert interviews. Tonight we're really privileged to have Dr Kim Kendall from the cat clinic in Sydney on board and giving us some information about cats. Hi Kim, how are you?
Hi Diederik, holding up there.
Thank you very much for joining me today, and I see you're in your new premises. I can tell by the acoustic ceiling. Do you want to tell us a little bit about them, please?
Yeah, this is the fourth time I've set up a cat clinic. I think I've just about got it right now, although I'll never enjoy the actual process. Love the tradesmen, love watching them, but organising them is a different story altogether. The advantage of a cat-only clinic of the size, and you don't have to keep as many drugs in, and they're nice and quiet, and so councils don't mind too much where you put them, although they do have, most of them are a bit excited about boarding. So I've finally figured out how to do it, and despite the fact that we're 2 weeks behind on our schedule, I think we'll be ensconced and happy. The reason we selected a light industrial area this time is because over the last 20 years the accessing clients has changed. You no longer need to be in the main drag with an excellent yellow pages advert. You now need to be online, and then with people's GPS they can find you. So the advantages of a light industrial area are it's a much cheaper rent, and there's usually better parking. And you get a lot more space for your money. So although I didn't need much space, all those factors came together in the light industrial area this time.
So it's interesting. You've actually, in a space of about 2-3 minutes, you've actually raised quite some significant points of difference to a dog clinic. And you say cat owners search you out online. That's their way of finding their preferred vet these days?
Apparently most veterinary clients will search out the local vet over the internet before they even move into an area, and very definitely clients tend to stay with the vet. It's a trust thing, it's a relationship building thing. Vets have a tendency to focus on the people who move and try to find new clients and those sorts of expensive things, but actually it's your tried and true, and as long as you remain convenient and accessible, then they will look for you. And the internet is the way people find out where thanks to Google, we know where everybody is at all times, and so you can they do their research first, and then they contact you. So there's several phone calls as well as emails and so forth coming and going. So one of the reasons that we board cats is because that's one of the ways to access new cat clients. They tend to be fairly mobile. Dog clients usually often have children associated, and so people tend to try and stay in the one area for the kids' schools and so forth. But cat clients, a largest percentage of them are a bit mobile, and they are more inclined to do their research online before they move house.
And they're also more inclined to travel to their preferred vet, are they? I'm sort of getting that impression a bit.
Yeah, people will travel with a cat in the car for 20 minutes. So, and possibly a bit longer in the country. Once people have come to my clinic, they will often stay. They will then travel from the Central Coast, an hour and a half away from me. And sometimes they'll cross the bridge. That harbour bridge is a really big psychological barrier. But in general, I access a bigger postcode area than most dog vets do. I need a population base of 1 million, whereas dog vets need a much lower population base in order for me to get the clientele to build up to the 1,500 clients per vet that it's still pretty standard statistics for cat vets, but we draw from a wider area, because once the cat's in the car, people will travel, but only for about 20 minutes. Interestingly, they'll travel a lot further for grooming, and that is an area that needs to be researched. You don't have to sedate every cat to clip it or groom it. We've learned about that. And of course, for boarding, people will make the effort to travel quite some way to board their cat where they feel the cat will be happiest. So those two additional services actually are integral to offering a good cat service. And of course, cats aren't going to like to be in with dogs, and most vets have a cat. If they board cats, they do have a cat-devoted area, and you just need to emphasise, expand on it, and make it cat-friendly.
Cool, thank you. Just made some notes about some questions I want to ask you, and the first one I've got written down, and you're probably expecting it, I guess. And what's the state of the vet/cat industry? In Australia and maybe all over the world, if you've got some opinion on that.
Well, Royal Canin has done a lot of European research, and they did quite a lot in America with the Bay of Brackey report, which is now a couple of years old. And in Australia, I'd say it's very similar, insofar as 87% of cats will go to the vet once. And then depending on what the client will take it, their cat is not going to turn up on its own. And you have to take most advantage of that very first visit in order to embed the client and impress them that you have a valuable service for their cat. Most cat owners do tend to think of their cats as fairly low maintenance. They're fairly well primed for vaccinations and the sexings and that sort of early stage stuff. And then, of course, if the cat's visibly broken, then they'll bring it in. And that was one of the reasons I actually got into cat vet work, was because the cat made me look good when it broke from, it had various traumas. And when it got better, the clients were most impressed with that. And then I gradually drifted off into medicine, where it's not always so spectacular. The successes are not always so spectacular. So the clients are unaware, and fortunately the bigger companies have finally twigged to the fact that cat owners will pay for their cats, but they don't want to bring them to the vets. So my experience has been, and the Royal Canin report indicated that cat owners will spend more on, or as much on their cats, in fact more, but in fewer visits. So you have to make it easy for them to get to you. You have to do everything in a coherent, logical fashion. And I do most of my follow-up over the phone. I send owners home with an array of tablets sometimes, and then they phone up and say, well, what do I do with this? Where am I up to with that? And I can manage the cats quite adequately with owner observation and the pharmacy they've been sent home with. So cat owners appreciate that. They tend to be time poor and well educated, and what they do want to treat their cats, but they don't want the cat to hate them at the end, and they don't want the cat to keep making appointments and turning up.
And
whereas dog people are quite happy to group together in the waiting room and all have a chat about their dogs. Cat owners find that intimidating for their pet, and there are ways around that as well. But cats aren't social, and cat owners tend not to be as well.
And it's interesting what you said a couple of seconds ago about doing more for them in less visits, and only getting them back once a year or whatever it happens to be. It's interesting that I was talking to a dog marketing guy the other day, and he was saying, well, with the dogs, get them to come back more frequently, and decrease the cost at each visit. So with the cats, it's a different mentality. So the wellness style programs that people are touting at the moment isn't really applicable to most cat owners, I would assume.
They're not very keen on it. They're getting quite savvy. I have my clients coming in and new clients coming in and saying that they've been to the vet 3 times and they were offered one thing at a time.
Yeah.
It's so much effort to get a cat to the clinic, and going home isn't that much fun, and a lot of cats poo and pee on the way through, and the owner's stressed and the cat's stressed. So some cats do have to come in regularly, and I've been working with cats and kittens long enough now that when I first see a kitten, I go through a little routine with it, and it's a bit like puppy preschool. If the kitten knows that it's not going to be a terrible thing, they're not frightened out of their skin by being sniffed and those sorts of things. I mean, some cats don't care, but some do. And the owner knows how to get the cat into the carrier, which is quite an important thing, and is being pushed in all the feline literature. Make the carrier a safe place, make it accessible, do the things to make it easy for the cat to be transported. I quite like cats in pillowcases, actually, although that goes against the grain a bit in the Americans, but the Europeans and the English think it's all right. And if you put a cat in a pillowcase and tie it at the top, then you can get a lot more. You can get the cat safely to the vet without the stress of trying to get it into a carrier where they, often become quite resistant and all 4 legs out, and somehow they get claws on the end of their tail as well. So the owners can get quite damaged bringing their cat in. So you have to have a coherent plan. You do have to sell the owners the plan, but if you can make it a logical progression and say, look, these are the 4 things I'm thinking of that might be a problem for your cat. This is what I recommend you do. We can take some samples now, or we can just check the weight, or whatever it is you decide to do. If you can get them to buy into a plan that doesn't involve bringing the cat in on a regular basis, then especially when the cats are younger, then they were more likely to contact you earlier in the problem rather than wait until the cat's so sick it's easy to put in the carrier. Older cats tend not to be as bad to go into the carriers, and the owner attachment, if you can keep a cat in a household, I think it's for about 4 years, then the owners will make very significant efforts to look after that cat. If the cat gets rehomed before it's about 3, it may be rehomed multiple times, and in fact one of the interesting statistics is that only 30% of kittens, once they get their first home, stay with that owner their whole life. So that's 70% get rehomed somewhere along the line. That's not euthanized, or that's not counting the ones that die in car accidents and stuff, because that's rehomed to heaven. It's talking about actively going out and either giving the cat back to the rescue facility, or rehoming it to friends or whatever.
It's interesting that
it's pretty high. You need to accommodate that.
It's really interesting you say that, and it was a massive wake-up call, and I haven't heard you say that before. Massive wake-up call to me, because I was just going through my head. I've got 3 cats, and all of them have been rehomed to me. And none of them did I get from kittenhood.
So it's quite a wild world for cats. The one thing they don't like is change, and we inflict all this change on them. So what you need to, what the owner and the cat is looking for is a stability and information to make those sorts of transitions as easy as possible. And I personally homed out over 5,000 cats and kittens over the first 18. There you go, that's Gus. He wants to get involved in the conversation. Over the first 18 to 20 years of the clinic, when we did have a foot trade, you do need passing trade to home out kittens, or some other method of connecting with people. And we did rehome quite a few, and we learnt to be the first port of call, so that we could answer the difficult questions and help people with the transitions for their cats, and getting cats and also giving them up, or where to look for kittens, all those sorts of things. You need to be. It is time consuming. It requires well-trained staff, but everybody who's talking to you, Dick, is going to have well-trained staff, but they have to view the veterinary community as a resource, not just an emergency go-to. Because if you can get in early, you can look after the cats. If you wait till the last squeak, that's the end of it, and then the outcome's disappointing for the owner, and they won't come back.
Okay. Something you said a couple of minutes ago, and you're talking about the importance of I'll paraphrase and say a stress-free journey to the vets, and one of the things you mentioned was a pillowcase, and you also said going home was probably even worse. Have you got any tips for us on how to make that journey into the vet and out lower stress?
Well, again, it starts with the receptionist asking, can you bring, how are you going to bring, you've got a carrier, you've got some method of bringing your cat in, because a lot of people still think that a cardboard box will do it, and it just doesn't, and so I like the pillowcase. Most cats, if you hold the pillowcase, the cat's sitting facing away, and you pull the pillowcase over its head, they'll mostly bundle into it, and then you can tie it with a string or a rubber band. Now, nobody knows how cats can breathe under 3 duvets, but everybody's got a cat who sits down the bottom of the bed, even down their men's feet. What is that about? They cannot be getting much oxygen. I don't know whether you'll edit this out, but I've actually got a couple of uses for men's farts, because they're a homing scent for a lot of cats. if you want to make it new bedding acceptable to a cat, then get the husband to sit on it for a couple of days.
I learn something new every day. So go on. Sorry, the tips.
So the cats are in their pillowcase, and they can breathe in there perfectly well. And people tend to hug them to themselves, and then they can go in a cardboard box or even in the footwell of the car. So they're not jerking about then, and they tend not to try and escape. I can't think of. There was one cat who escaped from the pillowcase, but the owner hadn't actually tied it shut. So by the time the cat was halfway out, of course, it's going to shred everything to get out. And we always like to see things restrained. There's an enormous number of pets going flying through the windscreen. It's a bit like babies not being recorded in the accidents. When the police would go to a car accident, well, pets aren't recorded, so nobody knows how many pets are damaged or killed in car accidents. So that's why the car harness for the dogs, and the cats are, sitting in the footwell of the passenger seat is pretty secure. So the key is that the owner has to be not too stressed about it. If they want to put the cat in a carrier for the after the pillowcase, you can turn once you've got the cat contained in the pillowcase with the top held closed, you can lift the carrier so the door is up, so you're now using gravity, and you just drop the cat in. The cat in the bag gets dropped into the carrier gently, and then the door closed, and then you let go of the top of the bag, and now the pillowcase is in there being an absorbent surface if there is an accident on the way through. And again, once they arrive, it's very important that cats, part of the stress-free treatment for cats is to get them into the consulting room away from everybody really fast. So, you're not going to be able to do much about the noise and the smells and all those things in the consult room, but one of the big adjustments you can make is to schedule your cat clients, they talk about it quieter times of the day, and longer times, so that you've got ample time to discuss with the owner what the options are. And while the cat's there, you can, if you decide you need an X-ray, then the cat comes and has an X-ray. It doesn't come back next week for a chest X-ray. Those sorts of things. It's all while you're here and now. And if the cat is out of the waiting room and preferably seen by the vet within a short time, then you're going to have a much less stressed cat. And if the vet knows that they have enough time to work with the cat and work with the client, because the client will tend to ask lots of questions, because Dr. Google's already been their best friend, so you can outrank Dr. Google, then the whole experience is going to be a lot less frustrating for the cat. And then the owner isn't going to go home thinking, well, that was so horrible, I'm never doing that again. Some enormous percentage of people who responded in the Bayer Brachy report said the reason they didn't go to the vet was because it was stressful just thinking about getting the cat to the vet, and also the dog. It wasn't just cats. It was something like 60% of cat owners, but it was something like 30 or 40% of dog owners.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
So I like pillowcases. People have those there.
Yeah. Any tips for travelling home, or that's not really an issue?
I always make sure that they've got an incontinence pad in the carrier with them, because sometimes, especially if I've been playing with the cat's bladder, or they've been sitting there quite a while, then going home is the last, the final stressor, and you don't want a cat peeing and then running out of the carrier, spreading urine all over the house.
Yep.
Never mind running up to all the other cats in the house now smelling of fear and urine. So, it's just thinking ahead of what could happen. Most cats don't, in fact, have a problem. But if you're even considerate of it, then the owners again appreciate the information and the effort. And I use incontinence pads rather than newspaper, because newspaper just isn't that absorbent, and that print goes all over people's carpets if they get it home, and now you've created more work. Yeah,
thank you. And one of the I heard you talk about pillowcases quite some time ago, and I've shared that information with people I know, and I know a few of them have actually branded their pillowcases, or got them done in their practice colours or with their practice logos on them, and they'll say to a client, come in and we'll give you a pillowcase, and they'll obviously give them a branded one, or if their pillowcase gets urinated on the way in, they'll give the client one of theirs to take home. So nice little marketing tool. Thank you for that tip.
We used to get the library bags when they made them a bit sturdier, out of calico.
Yep.
And then it's got a tie top, so that it's already got the tie top. And I've got cats coming in. I lost track of the guy who made them and then stopped doing it. But we had our logo on it, and cats keep coming in. 15 years later, the same cat's turning up in the same pillowcase and the other in the same library bag, and the head gets tucked in, or else you can use the tie. You cannot choke a cat with one of those bags. It just scrunches up and it stops that. And remember, cats like small spaces, and they tend to, they curl up and they're quite happy. And those bags are gone forever, and they're not a storage problem. You see, that's the other thing, is what do you do with a cat carrier the rest of the 364 days till you come in again? Again, it's a problem to find. The cat knows it's coming. The number of people who say, I have to bring my carrier in a couple of days in advance. All of that.
The loaning of the carriers and the recording of it and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And I think the environmental footprint, or the carbon footprint of one of those library bags would be a lot less than a plastic cat cage.
It can even be eco-green. I looked at getting them made out of silk at one point, but lost track of that effort.
Give you an excuse to get other things made out of silk and make them tax deductible, I guess.
Correct.
So, someone that wants to develop a cat, not a cat clinic as such, but would like to increase their cat numbers. Have you got any tips, clues, hints for them?
Yeah, you need to check out your database, because something like 36% of your dog owners have a cat at home. So 1/3 of your dog owners have a cat at home, and if you're not seeing that cat on a regular basis, ask them why. Find out what your local issues are. Again, I guess most owners will take their cat to a vet with a tick, because it's easy enough to capture the cat when it's paralysed, but that's not the time that you want to see them. You want to see them ahead of time, and I think it's just an education process, and you have to start out, I guess you have to start out on 2 or 3 fronts. One is someone has to know enough about cats to be a useful information source. So a bit of feline medicine, specific feline medicine, goes a long way. I mean, I was told, and I don't know if it was the owner misunderstanding it, but the owner had been told that a cat only comes into season once in the summer. A kitten would only come into season once, and would, so once it was out of season, they didn't have to worry about getting it spayed for a while. Well, that's dogs, that's not cats. So I don't know whether that was a miscommunication, but it seems a very basic thing to understand. The other thing vets need to understand is that you can spay and castrate cats very young. So you've got to train your staff. 4 months is more than adequate, and very few kittens will come into season by then. And you can combine it with a final vaccination. So again, you're saving one trip for the owner. And it's in those times, if it isn't the vet who's doing the husbandry, Tom Cavazzaro likes to talk about wellness husbandry things that the nurses can go through. Cat clients want to hear it from the vet, but it can be reinforced by the nurse.
Yep.
So you need to improve your background understanding and obtain a few anecdotes about things that cats do, that only cats do, because again, everybody likes a bit of an anecdote. And then you get the receptionists to understand that, have you got a cat? Are you bringing it in? Are you aware that... I personally don't think you need to see cats much between the ages of sort of 3 and 8. They're pretty low maintenance if they've had a few vaccinations and they're being kept indoors. All you've really got at that stage is social problems like cystitis or spraying, those sorts of things, and allergies, and they can kick in any time. But by the time they get to about 8, you should have had a couple of years of educating about the next stage to improve a cat's health. Random wellness visits do work, but you need to be very specific about what you're doing. We offer a free senior health check in August each year. It's a bit of a slow time, and we combine it with a dental health check. So what you do is, if it's a senior, if it's over the age of 8, the health check is free, but they pay for a urine test and a blood pressure check. And I've developed an economy probe, so you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to take a cat's blood pressure. So urine test and a blood pressure check, which comes out at about the same as a consult fee. And then I can get some very useful information from that. If you wanted to add on a blood test, you might want to do that. But again, if you go deeply into your feline medicine, you'll find that the blood parameters change a lot later than the urine parameters. So urine's really easy to get and really cheap to process. And then for the younger cats, up to the age of 8, we do free dental checks. And the interesting thing about cat owners is they'll come in for a free dental check and then update their vaccinations and all those, and wormings, and always check for fleas, and they will update and upgrade while they're there. They come in for the free thing because, again, that's part of the psychology of owning a cat, is it shouldn't be all that expensive. To arrange to come in for a vaccination, I would say, even with my good clients, there's a trigger like, I'm going boarding, I need my cat vaccinated, or it's got an abscess, I'll get it vaccinated at the same time. All those sorts of things are while they're there. It's very difficult to promote a random visit if there's not if there's not another pressing issue for the client.
Yep. So that's
unless it's free.
Sorry, unless it's free.
Unless it's free.
You've just given everyone that's listening a host of information in those last 3 or 4 minutes that'll help them grow their cat business. Thank you very much for that. And you may have noticed I sort of disengaged for a couple of seconds because I just had to make a note because I want to come back to it, and I'd like to finish on. I've got 2 more points I'd like to finish on if that's okay. What I wrote down was economy probe. So can you talk a little bit more about this economy probe? I mean, I had a Doppler in practice, and I can't remember whether it cost me $2,000, $3,000 or $5,000 to buy it. So what's this economy probe?
Well, it's a vascular probe. It's an EDAN one. I got some from China, and I got an engineer to modify it so that it's easy to use on cats, because the vascular probes are designed to be put on people's ankles and wrists and those.
External, sorry.
External. It's an external probe.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, it's just a Doppler probe, the same as it's actually a better quality crystal than the Parkes Doppler one. It does cost you $2,000. Yeah, it's lovely, clear. Life's moved on. The Doppler probe, there is a pocket version that you can get for. I think it runs at about $1,200. This I can produce at $350. But if you've got an engineer and you want to look for an 8 megahertz vascular probe, and then it has to be modified so that you can hold it against a cat's risk as opposed to a human risk, and they work really well. You just you can use them. A lot of people take cats' blood pressure on the tail. Wrapped around the tail. I can't see that that's going to be very cat friendly, but cat practices do. I like to do the wrist, so that's another whole session on how to take blood pressure and manage senior cats and so forth. But this economy probe, we've got 10 of them in the works at the moment. So
if someone's interested in that, they can contact you about it.
Yeah, I can send them I can send them a video of what we've done and how it works.
Cool.
And
okay.
It is much easier. The Parkes probe is it's still the gold standard. There's oscillometric ones and those sorts of things, but the ones to actually do cat blood pressure are the $5,000 and $9,000 ones. The cheaper ones. The
pet map
specialists are not excited about it.
Okay. Yeah, and you and I have talked about that before. Yeah. So thank you.
If you're not taking cat blood pressure, you're missing out on an enormous problem in your cat population, because they're getting high blood pressure before their kidneys are damaged.
Yeah.
You can keep a cat's kidneys going.
Yeah, I remember we had a Doppler in our practice, and it was in use all the time, and we were measuring blood pressures, and normal cats in inverted commas came in, hypertensive, and you wouldn't have picked it. So, and I guess you see that fairly typically then.
Yeah, and again, you can offer the owners options. Do you want to treat, because it's an everyday commitment?
Yeah.
And so then you move into the making it easy, and there's many ways to administer, many better ways now to administer cat medication than just by pills. Although again, it comes back to tweaking your early information and making your owners teach your cat to take a pill, because every cat's going to need to take pills sometime in its life. And one of the advantages, I think the reason people are prepared to make more of an effort for their old cats is because they don't want to learn a new cat's rules. And, when a cat dies and you get another cat, there's a new set of rules to learn. And, it's just as nice to have the same old cat with its same rules. So, that it's going to get you up at the same time, and where it's going to manipulate you around the house, rather than learn a whole new set of rules.
I'm smiling because I can actually reconcile that to, human relationships. But I won't go there.
Well, that's right. Why would you train another man?
I was thinking the other perspective. So we'll organise to put your email address on the video, and we'll just talk about it. So if anybody wants to contact you, they can use that email address. Last question or last point, and it's probably not a question. And we're lucky enough to have you talking with us on Veterinary Classrooms on, I'm just taking my notes, on the 18th of December. So that's in 2 weeks' time, isn't it? So what's the topic? I know what it is, but I'm going to ask you to I know you're dying to say it.
Well, again, it's called Making Cats Pay.
Sounds like a James Bond movie.
Oh, that would be an approach I could come from. What was you call Pussy Galore?
Yeah.
I think that the only reason that you need to know that you need to work better with cats is because veterinary medicine is really only the whole veterinary medicine industry and course is really only to make cats' lives better. So once you pass that test, the next thing is you actually have to you have to work a bit harder for your cat clients. The education of owners is a bit further behind. Dogs and so forth, especially in the city now, they're highly regulated. So everybody gets told the regulations 85 times, and vets are part of the health regulations. Cats just kind of slip under the radar a little bit. So, and neither cats nor cat owners respond to the same stimuli as dogs. I mean, it's an uncommon cat that will continue to work for just cheese. You've got to keep improving the reward in order to get more complex behaviours. And I think cat behaviour is absolutely fascinating. And the cat-human dyad, it's called when you have two interacting, is endlessly fascinating. And once you buy into that, then you can understand what the cat owners want, and you can facilitate that for a big percentage of cat owners, and they will pay for that if it's above and beyond value. It's about making cats' lives better.
And I think that's a good point on which to finish. It's about making cats' lives better. So, Kim Kendall, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank the Cat Guide for allowing us to spend some time together today. It's been really, really valuable, and I'm sure that the listeners and viewers have got a massive amount out of it. So, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dick. I'll see you around.
Thank you.